Good evening, everybody. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here today. I've got about a 20-minute presentation to take you through, and it's a topic that is very dear to my heart. It's data. I love data. I'm passionate about it. I've not told the staff at MaxContact, but in my last company, I used to be referred to as stat man, statistics man. So yeah, please don't use that again. But that's a true story. But I'm going to talk about data and what we can do to harness the power of data. So a little bit about myself. I joined MaxContact just over 2 years ago. And prior to that, my work experience was predominantly in the enterprise IT and endpoint security space. So I spent a number of years at a company called Ivanti, who acquired the previous company I worked for called AppSense, where I really kind of honed my trade in software engineering and working with large engineering teams, building enterprise class solutions prior to coming to Ivanti. And the reason I moved actually from Ivanti, we ended up with about 3,000 staff, ridiculous amount of revenue, close to $1 billion worth of revenue, was I wanted to get back to a UK-based company with a small group of really passionate people building solutions where you're really impacting the lives of those that actually use the solutions. Working in IT endpoint security, the product just kind of runs in the background and you deal with IT admins. And I love IT admins, but working with real agents in the contact centres and people like yourselves in this room, it's much more rewarding and much more fun, shall we say. But prior to that, I spent a number of years in tech. So I spent a couple of years at Autotrader, which was great fun. I learned agile software development there. Before that, Surf Control, they were a web and email filtering company. For those of you that may have come across them in the late 90s, early 2000s, they were based out of Congleton. And then kind of my formative years were doing scripting, system administration type work within Shell and AstraZeneca. So yeah, I've spent a long time in technology, but I'm really enjoying my time here at MaxContact. As well as work, I do like to do a few things for pleasure. So AI, like I mentioned, I love data and I love artificial intelligence and machine learning and what's been happening there over the last few years, and particularly the huge advancements over the last 2 years that we've seen. Chilies, so I'm a little bit obsessed with chili plants. I grow them from seed every year, and I grow them through and then make my own chili sauce. And unfortunately, Ben Booth, our CEO, isn't here tonight, but I did give him and his wife Karen some, and I believe it did blow the socks off, so I'm going to make it even hotter this year. But I like getting out my bike. I like doing a bit of fishing as well. I'm going over to the Llyn Peninsula next weekend. Looking forward to that with friends and doing a bit of fishing. And yeah, in my spare time, a bit of a collector. I like to collect vinyl records. I love music. And I've got a radio show on Cheshire's Mix 56. So yeah, you have been warned. Don't tune in. No, it's a 1 hour mix show. I play vinyl, and yeah, it keeps me out of trouble, shall we say. So that's a little bit about me.
You like the Red Hot Chili Peppers then?
There we go. There we go. I do actually. I saw them in Liverpool in 1992. Good one. Okay. Hopefully everybody has got a holiday to look forward to this summer. We're going to get into the data now. So nice, sunny weather, hot beach. Quite often when I'm sat on those beaches, one thing I'm thinking about is data. And I'm thinking about questions such as, how many grains of sand are there on the world's beaches? And I won't ask anybody to guess because obviously it's a ridiculous number. But I have Googled it, and I've asked ChatGPT just to confirm and verify as well. And it's 7.5 quintillion grains of sand, which is basically 18 zeros worth of sand. 7.5 quintillion, you just can't imagine how many grains of sand that is. It's a huge amount. But why do I say this? I say this because the amount of data in the world is increasing exponentially year upon year. So last year, as a global industry across all people, personal, private, work-related activities, we generated 120 zettabytes of data. And that is, in terms of quintillion grains of sand, just 0.006% of grains of sand in the world as bytes of data. So try and like get your head around that. It's just a ridiculous amount of data. If every single grain of sand was a byte of data, it just blows my mind. I'm sure it blows your mind as well. And the interesting aspect of it is that next year we're going to generate 181 zettabytes of data. Now zettabytes don't mean much to us, but the takeaway from this slide is back in 2010 we're in single digits in terms of zettabytes of data generated in the world. And you can see the massive rise, particularly through the mid-teens, and particularly as we've hit 2020 and beyond, the rise of data globally is just absolutely phenomenal. So we'll be at 181 zettabytes, the year after probably 200 million zettabytes of data, huge, huge amount. So bringing it back to the room and the data that we care about, just have a think about the data that you generate day to day in your personal roles, in your company, in your team. There's data everywhere, right? Call data, durations, call handled, wait times, abandon rates, all that digital channel information you've got coming in, all the interaction data, the structured and unstructured data, so the audio recordings that you've got. You've probably got a social media presence that you need to manage and maintain if you've got a marketing department, for example. All that customer information you've got in the CRMs, your agent performance metrics, no doubt all of you've got a knowledge base of some kind. All that sales and transaction data, all the IT and infrastructure data that you have, the logs, the system information. There's just a huge amount of data, and sometimes it can feel very much overwhelming as to what to do with all that data and where to actually start to understand how you can generate insights from that data. And this is what I'm going to talk to you about today. So a good analogy that I like to use is in terms of how to think about how to deal with all this data is in 2008, the British cycling team, prior to 2008, they'd only won one gold medal in all the previous Olympics up to 2008. And in 2008, we managed to win 7 out of 10 possible gold medals as a team. A phenomenal achievement. And the way we did that, and the main driver behind that, was of course the athletes who went out and won the medals, but behind the scenes, managing that was a guy called David Brailsford. Some of you have no doubt come across him before. He became known as the marginal gains man. And his philosophy, his thought process was based upon something called Kaizen, which is all around continuous improvement. And his idea was that if you broke everything down into its smallest constituent part and improved all those small aspects by 1%, the cumulative impact of that would be significant and massive. And he proved it in the Olympics. And then 4 years later at London 2012, the team went on to win another handful of medals. He went on to work with the Ineos cycling team. And what he did in terms of those 1% gains, he looked at the typical things like, nutrition, like aerodynamics of the bike, like aerodynamics of the lycra, the helmets, etc. But he went way beyond that. He actually looked at certain aspects like the garages where they maintain the bikes. They identified that there was lots of dust in those garages. So what he did, he had them all painted white and brightly lit, so any single speck of dust could be identified and it wouldn't interfere with the mechanics of the bike when they're undergoing maintenance. Another example is when they actually went to the Olympics, the team took their own mattresses and pillows to the Olympics so that they'd have exactly the same experience. And it's all about getting that 1% gain, that competitive edge over your competitors. So, phenomenal guy, really interesting. He's not yet, for those in the room who are Manchester United fans, he's not yet quite had the same impact at Manchester United.
Not started yet, Mark, don't worry.
Okay, it will take time, it's not an overnight thing, so I'm sure it'll come in time, but he joined Man United in about, I think, December last year, so Jim Ratcliffe brought him in. But I'm sure he'll get there, and I'm sure the United team will improve over the coming years. So, how can we harness the power of all that data to become more successful? Data-driven decision-making, in summary, is the process of collecting data based on your company's key performance indicators and transforming that data into actionable insights. So it's all very well having access to all this data, but we need to be able to turn it into insights that are going to make a difference to your teams, your people, your business day to day. So I'm going to talk about 3 aspects of this. One is the importance of having vision and setting good objectives. The second is around data quality and some lessons learned around data accessibility that I'm going to share. And then the third is also a framework for thinking about how you create a data-driven culture. And again, sharing some lessons from my time at MaxContact and previous companies as well. So as you think about objectives to achieve your vision, one thing we've done at MaxContact, and I've used previously to good effect, is adopt a framework like OKRs, objectives and key results. And the thing I like about this framework is it's very simple. You have an objective at the top level, so it could be, a direction of growth of the company, a change you want to get implemented, an innovation, an improvement of some kind, and then you define the key results that you believe you need to achieve in order to shift the needle on the overall objective. So you define your key results that map to that top level objective, and then obviously maps to the company vision itself. An example within our domain could be to maximise call revenue. So the objective is very clear. We want to maximise the agent performance, the data performance, and make sure we're maximising our call revenue. So key results, example ones, might be to increase successful call rates from 20% to 25%, to increase the cross-sell success of our agents from 5% to 8%, and to increase the sales per agent from 10% to 12%. And by setting those SMART goals, or SMART key results, so they are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, by setting those SMART key results, we've got our blueprint of where we want to get to. Sounds simple, right? So you just set some objectives, set the key results, away you go. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as just doing that. You've got to do a lot of work to get the people in your company, in your teams, aligned that these are the most important objectives in the company and working towards achieving those. In my time at MaxContact over the last 2 years, we've been working with OKRs, and we've definitely improved with them. I'd say we're nowhere near perfect with them yet, absolutely not, but we have improved, and some of the lessons that we've learned along the way are that when I first joined, we ended up with too many OKRs. So we ended up with OKRs across all the different departments that didn't really map up to the company level OKRs. So, marketing, I'm going to pick on Kay at the back of the room. Marketing, for example, we're working to their OKRs, great OKRs in isolation, but they were quite different to my engineering organisation, what we were working towards. So we had too many. So what we've done this year, and it's working really well so far, is we actually set the OKRs as a cross-department leadership team. And we set no more than 3 because we found that having more than 3 dilutes the effectiveness of them. So set no more than 3 OKRs, make sure they're SMART. The other thing we fell foul of last year was we tried to track them over the course of the 12 months of the year. It's too long a period. Things change that much in a quarter, let alone a year, that trying to set your goals for the year, yes, you need to know where you're getting towards, but setting them on a quarterly basis, and then really important, keeping them in focus, making sure you're reviewing them week by week. You've got dashboards with them visible to all the teams. You're checking in every week, how we're doing, how we're progressing towards them, what are we trying to do to achieve the key results, keeps them front and centre, and we've had really good success. An example I can share from the first quarter this year is we revamped our company house values. So we have a set of house values that we define that define how we behave. And I know Danny Wareham's in the room, so this will resonate with him. But they kind of define who we are as a business and how we operate day to day with each other and how we collaborate with each other. And we set that as a company objective and cascaded it down across the departments. And actually, we just did a staff survey about 6 to 8 weeks ago and got the feedback, and that really kind of supported that was a good initiative, and they are embedded within the business now. So we implemented the OKRs, we achieved them, and now we're on to that next set for this quarter and beyond. And if you want to know a lot more about it, there is a great book, the classic book on this topic, Measure What Matters by John Doerr. Okay, so second point, data. There's lots of it. So understand what data you have today. Number one, do a bit of an audit, understand what data you have today, understand what gaps you've got in the data today. So you've set your company vision and your objectives, you've got your key results, you might identify that there's some gaps in what you need to do to achieve those key results and be able to measure the important metrics in order to achieve those key results. At a practical level, you need to understand, where the data is stored. You need to understand who's got access to it. From a security perspective, of course, is there any confidential information in there? Is it under appropriate access controls? Are we adhering to GDPR, et cetera, who manages the data? Is it structured, so is it all database tables, or is it unstructured? Is it things like audio recordings or documents data? How do we extract insights from that? And who's responsible for data processing? So go through that audit activity, understand what you've got, and then look to establish a level of data governance. Doesn't have to be super heavyweight, start simple. This can be as easy as assigning a data steward or a data office. So somebody who is responsible for making sure that the data that you care about is well managed, it's maintained, and it's kept up to date, it's refreshed on a regular basis. And then the third part of this is, look to leverage tools. So we all use Excel. Some of us will probably use tools like Power BI or Tableau or other reporting tools. Decide what tools you want to use for your business, invest in them, and make sure you get the data right, and then start to share those insights around. So select the right tools. And I've put AI in there now because obviously AI is everywhere. Every new software application you open up has got some artificial intelligence component to it. And AI is really, really good at analysing data. Machine learning is kind of built to analyse huge data sets, generate insights. So, think carefully about what tools you want to use, making sure you get the most out of AI solutions. And then the fourth part of this is make it available to people. So don't keep the data just to the management team. Make the data available to everybody in the company. You never know who might be able to spot an insight or an opportunity within the data that you have available. So make it available. Don't store it away and only have certain people have access to it. Make it available to as many people as you can so that you create the most opportunity for innovation and ideas to come from that data. And there's a life cycle to data management as well. So collection, storage, let's make sure it's secure. Let's make sure it's processed effectively. So there is some cleanup of the data and cleansing of data required. We do so in a professional and efficient way. Then the analysis tools, choose the appropriate tools, and then make it available to people so they can get the most out of the data. The third part of this, just a quick sip of water, is around you've got all the data now. You've got the key metrics that you want to look at. We've made it accessible to people. We want to create that culture of being data-driven. And this really does start at the top. So it starts at senior leadership level, and senior leaders absolutely have to lead by example in not just making decisions based on, gut feel, based on data, sorry. So you need to make decisions based upon data. You can have a gut feel, but you should be able to back it up with some data. So leadership set expectations that decisions must be anchored in data and demonstrate that. And at MaxContact, absolutely, Ben, our CEO, who unfortunately can't be here tonight, he's absolutely big on data, uses data in his decision making, expects the leadership team to use data, and we in turn encourage all staff to use data as well. Think about training. So how do we encourage and enable your teams to make the most of this data? You may need to go on some, data courses, invest in training for staff. You may need to just do some internal knowledge shares on a regular basis, make people aware, like I do with sales, making them aware of things like, product usage analytics, sales share back their sales statistics, sharing that data around, but making sure people have got the empowerment to be able to do so. And also, just a very simple tip is, as you're speaking to staff and people are making decisions day to day, just ask them, can you show me the data that led you to that decision? And this one I really like. We implemented this at MaxContact around about 12 months ago, maybe 18 months ago now. We all make decisions, on a daily, weekly basis, and some decisions are really small, and you can just make really quickly. Other decisions are big, and There's cost associated to them, there's risk associated to them. They could have a potentially huge impact on your business. So those bigger decisions, for example, a vendor selection, don't just come with one recommendation for a vendor based upon your research. Present 3 options. By going through that process of evaluating 3 different options, I can guarantee that you will identify some additional considerations that influence your end decision. You might still go with the vendor that you thought about at the start, but you will learn something along that journey of analysis, looking at those different vendors that you hadn't considered at the start of the process. And at the end of it, and this is the really good part of it, is when you're then communicating that decision to your manager or your leaders, and you go and asking for investment, for example, in a new product, service, solution, you've got the data to back up why you want to actually invest in this particular solution. So, we always ask, okay, what other options have you looked at? And if you can demonstrate to me, that you've looked at 3 different solutions and we ruled these 2 out for these reasons and we've gone for this one because of these reasons, then that's good by me. I trust you, you're going to make the right decision. You've looked at the data, you've taken a data-driven approach. And then the last one I've left, so it's got its full slide to show, is, and I've got a t-shirt with this on, sadly. I do have a black t-shirt with this on, but I didn't wear it today. I thought I'd wear a shirt. But is this culture of continuous improvement. Hopefully it's nothing new to anybody in this room, but the idea is that we look at the data and we ask questions. And we ask questions based upon those company objectives that we want to try and achieve. And we identify opportunities to learn. And we identify initiatives to try out. We've got an idea, based upon our understanding of the data, we've got an idea of how we might improve agent performance, or how we might improve conversion rates, of how we might improve our CSAT scores, for example. Try it out in a small subset of your user base. Try it out. If it doesn't work, try something else. You're data-driven. Try something else. Eventually, you'll find something that does work, succeeds. You then start to share that out into your wider team. So try something in a single team. If you've got many teams in your company, just start in a single team, prove it out, and then share it out, and then go again. And just encourage your leaders, people in this room, your staff, to have that continuous improvement mindset. We're never done. Technology is always changing. It's continually moving forward, more so than ever right now with artificial intelligence. And so it's incumbent upon us as leaders in the room to continually question the data and seek those marginal gains that David Brailsford put into practice so well back in 2008. From a business perspective, some numbers. There's lots of research out there. McKinsey did a large-scale study and found that data-driven organisations were 23 more times likely to acquire customers than those that weren't actively using the data to drive decisions in their companies. 6 more times more likely to retain those customers and 19 more times likely to be profitable. Those are big numbers. Those are big multiples across key aspects that are fundamental to all businesses. So the data's there to back up being data-driven. So the key takeaways, I want to just kind of hopefully set you all some homework to go away and think about. I'm sure you're all doing it already. Is to continually foster that culture of data-driven mindset and data-driven continuous improvement. Look at your tooling, get your data in order, get the most out of the analytics tools, make the data available to people, and continually refine it, continually look at how we can get better, how we can improve. Because over time, those 1% gains will be significant. You won't realise it at the time. In MaxContact, we work in 2-week sprints in engineering, and we continually work on features, continually work on fixes, enhancements, etc. And sometimes it can feel like you're not really shifting the needle too much. And then once a quarter, every few months, you take a step back, and you're like, wow, we've done a huge amount. But we're focused on just those small incremental improvements in the product and in our services and in the way we do things at MaxContact. So I'd encourage you all to think about how you can go for those marginal gains and try not to take too big a step with data. Just start small and get that culture of continuous improvement into your companies. So I'm not sure how we've done for time there, I've not had the warning sign from Pip, so hopefully I'm all right. I think we have time for any quick questions before I hand over to Kay. So hopefully you found that interesting. Hopefully there's one or two things for you to think about. Thank you.